All right, so we will look at 10 differences between JavaFX and Swing. Okay. So we know that Oracle abandoned Swing. It's going to be, it's not deprecated, right? But no work is being done anymore to enhance Swing from Oracle, right? They focus on JavaFX for the future. So let's look at 10 differences, things. So we talk about frame, right? JFrame. And frame is essentially an empty window to which you can add a panel. Right, we show you how to add a panel. Let's review the code again. Then we understand. So I just try to show you the differences, right? So last time we were doing the calculator, so let's vi to calculator.java. So this is JFrame we talked about, right? JFrame class, and we create a panel. If you look at JPanel, right, which is serve as a container for user interface, right? So Swing actually a class that extends the JFrame class. So display user interface components. You add components to a JPanel, like we did here. We add components label text field as a component. And then you add panel to the frame, right? JavaFX uses the metaphor of a theater to model the top level containers of an application, a stage, right? Define the stage class, represent the highest level container. So let's look at, this is the JavaFX, right? So this is a stage, right? Like a theater, like I try to show you, right? They use the theater metaphor, right? Like this is a stage, represent the highest level container, like JFrame, right? In Swing. So it's a window, right? That's the stage. So on some operating system, the stage may represent the entire display surface. The individual controls and other components that make up the user interface are contained in a scene, right? An application can have more than one scene, but only one of the scenes can be displayed on the stage at any given time. So a scene contains a scene graph, which is the most important concept in JavaFX. Scene graph is a collection of all the elements that make up a user interface. Groups, layouts, controls, and shapes. So I want to show you this image actually make more sense when we talk about JavaFX. Okay. It's on your textbook, the supplementary reading, chapter 14, basic JavaFX. JavaFX basics. All right, so this is stage, this is scene, and this is the button, right? And this is pretty much a relationship, right? Stage, right? Scene composed of stage, right? Parent composed of scene. That's what it means, okay? and node. So important thing is everything is a node here, because you see everything. When you see this arrow mean it extends, like shape extends from node, parent extends from node. It's called inheritance concept. Okay, like you gotta learn this more in 201, but I just try to prepare you here. So you probably gonna see node is pretty much the thing. Like we see flow pane, right? We talked about plane, we used flow pane last time, if you remember the code. Flow pane, right? Remember the window itself is stage and then scene, right? Stage and scene. And then you can add like the UI controls, we call controls like label, text field, buttons, right? It's pretty much the concept is when it extends like this is the node. Okay, it is the node. Everything is the node here. So main concept is we have stage, scene, and node. That's it, right? And then node can expand into like control, right? And pane pretty much is the layout: flow pane, grid pane, border pane, edge box, V box, stack pane. Right? We just see flow pane, right? Grid pane pretty much just like a dial, like phone number, pin pad, right? The way you lay out the pin pad, you can use grid pane. Border north, east, west, south, like to the top, to the right, to the left, to the center, to the bottom of the scene. Edge box is like column, stack, like horizontal. I mean a row, horizontal row, and V box is vertical box, like stack, column. Stack is pretty much on the top of each other. Like on the top mean like 3D, like put on the top. You may not see, you see the last one on the top that you add. And then we have something that dealing with shape and image view. Okay. Alright, so this is pretty much just showing all the basic, okay? And you can also see we pretty much can draw things like that, but this is example, right? Draw shape, draw things on the, and they have animations. Okay, so let's look at the animations part too. So like for example, if you want to make, let me show you fade transition. Okay, like this one, you can make object to flash on the scene, right? We can use fade transition and animation. Okay, let's see if we want to do that. So you create a pane, right? This one is just fading in and out, right? See that? So extends application, stage, and pane. So ellipse is pretty much a shape. It's under shape. I just show you under shape, right? There's a shape part. Like remember, we have three main things: what? Stage, scene, and node, right? Node break into what? Pane, and pane and control, right? And also shape, right? So this is part of that, right? Shape, ellipse, and you pretty much call ellipse to draw the ellipse or oval. So you can set, yeah, to make it red, color stroke as black, Okay, you can make it by. So by here making it like if you resizing it, it's going to responsive to the change of the scene. Like shape of this going to get bigger or smaller, right? So you can buy that. And yeah, radius X property, radius Y property by, this is just do binding, right, when you're resizing. Now this is a part that do the flashing fade transition. Okay, and then you just set duration in millisecond. And this is a class doing the flashing and pass in ellipse. Right, and then you can set from and set to values. Like this is intensity, we call opaque values, right? One, like 100% to 10%. And then you just make a set cycle count. Just keep it repeating, timeline indefinite. And make it, yeah, if you wanted to do auto reverse, I mean, where it's get to 100%, go down 90, right? 90%, 80%, up to 10%. And when you get to 20%, it's 20, 30, that's rewards. And do play. Okay. That's pretty much how you do like flashing, right? All right, so now let's look at the different, right? That will be, that's why I show you here. Come back. Right, nodes, I show you that, right? And are all derived from the node class. The node class has many useful features and capabilities that are automatically made available to any object you can add to your user interface. Node class defines a set rotate method that allows you to rotate any node in a scene graph. You can rotate that to like degrees, like 36 degrees, 90 degrees. So JavaFX layout managers and nodes, we just show you, right? Swing layout is associated with a panel, JPanel. So top level JPanel give the basic layout for the frame. Like let's look back to the code again. So how do we do layout? See that JPanel, and I set layout by using flow layout, right? Okay. You must create additional JPanels, set their associated layouts, and then add them to the higher level layout. So in JavaFX, layouts are subclasses of the node class, just like controls and shapes. Layouts contain a collection of nodes. And node contained in a layout can be any kind of node, a control, shape, another layout, which I already show you that architecture in the diagram. This scheme is much less cumbersome than swing association of layouts with panels. So JavaFX has improved event handling. Okay, so there are something different, right? So we talk about improve on event handling now. So event handling to respond to user input events. However, you will find that events in JavaFX are better throughout and more consistent than their equivalent in Swing. But the biggest reason event handling is improved in JavaFX is because of its reliance on properties. So JavaFX support properties. The concept of properties and use properties extensively throughout its classes. Simply put, a property is a variable whose value can be observed. You can register a listener with any property, allowing you to write code that is triggered automatically whenever the property changes. You can bind properties to each other, meaning that if one property value changes, the other property value automatically changes it with it. Right, the properties. Like I just showed you earlier, this is the property thing that it has. If you go back here, with property, right? See that? Center X property bind. To make it like you can change the size of the window, so the shapes also change. Okay. Okay, so all the characteristics of user interface elements are merged through properties. JavaFX provides event handling that's unheard of in Swing. Right. For example, in JavaFX, you can attach an event listener to the color of a shape. If the shape changes color, your event listener code is executed. Right, you can attach an event listener to the color of a shape. You may not have a use for the capability, but you can use if you need to. So you will learn this more, okay? But the concept is you learn this more in 201. But the concept is like that. When you make some changes, like you see, you can bind the changes. Like this one said the property multiplied by 0.4. When you make change to the pane, it's going to affect the radius of the ellipse here. That's what it means here. Okay. So Java is skinnable with CSS. You can use cascading style sheet. So if you don't know what CSS is just, you can right click and see the source code. You see CSS here. It's just a style that we use, yeah, on the web. Like if you want to make a like pretty much layout. This is CSS here. Like image, emoji. It just make it the size, width, height, margin, background. Something like that is CSS, which you can integrate back into JavaFX when you want to control the formatting. You can set with a style rule. You can easily allow the user to select which of several style sheets to apply to the scene. You can make the look change within the method call. Like they have let's see, this is JavaFX set style, right? So here I have label, right? Let's see, label dot, let's see, let me put in a start, label dot, here, set style. So now you technically can change, like I said, this is the CSS value, right? You can put the CSS value in there, the style, right? The one that you want. So, but technically you want to get something that relevant to the label, right? So let's see, JavaFX label set style, right? See, you can make changes to that value, color, right? So this is a style. See that? You could technically, but for the FX, it's pretty much just require you to have dash FX in front, right? So that's pretty much the learning CSS, like dash FX font equals to, this is 16 pixels. So let's see if I make the style like that first for now, or we can make the color. Okay, so I just set the style to make it 16 pixel. Here, right, this is some sample code here. You can change the background color. You can just put more style right there, right, like that. Okay, after you create object, you just set that. See that? I just changed the background color. So that's pretty much something that you cannot do in Swing, but JavaFX. Alright, so let's come back to 10 different things. So that's top of CSS here. Right, you can make change from a single method call like set style. Has more consistent controls. You find that JavaFX control hierarchy is more complete than Swing's. Like Swing, we talk about control like buttons, check boxes, combo boxes, right? Both of them have that, but JavaFX has several interesting controls that Swing doesn't have, such as the collapsible tile pane control and accordion control that arrange multiple tile pane controls in stack. And the fact that all these controls are skinnable by CSS keeps them a huge advantage over Swing. So JavaFX has special effects. There you go. Like I just show you that you can do the animations, right? Animation is easier in JavaFX. I just show you that program. Swing does not provide any direct support for it. To animate a Swing component, you must set up your own timers and build your own logic to perform the animation, which is a lot of work just to do the fading or fletching things. JavaFX has built-in support for sophisticated animations that can be applied to any node in a scene graph. You can use one of several built-in transition classes to perform common animations such as fades, rotations, or motion paths. You can use a keyframe and timeline classes to easily set up custom animations. And support modern touch devices. Swing lacks any support for modern touch devices. JavaFX has built-in support for common touch gestures such as scrolling, swiping, rotating, and zooming. Okay. You simply install an event listener on the touch event and then write code that responds appropriately. It's not equivalent to option pane. We learned option pane, right? It has no built-in equivalent to swing option pane class, which is very handy for displaying short alert message. We see that, right? JavaFX, you have to do like alert, and right, they don't have something like that. All right. So those are the differences. So let's come back to class exercises here. So we're on 6.3, right? Swing layout. And JavaFX also have the layout that I shown you. Right, so we can take a look at that. Okay. 1 second.
And so, Grandpa on the same one, but I talked to her. Oh, Nova has like shitty math professors and great English teachers. Right. Yeah, really. Every so it has string input, and then so it's just like I just chose the younger one. So and then math. I found Patrick professor. So it's a 14 class framework. It's gonna be hard, but I'm not really sure. Every other professor has it.
So what that's saying is that the actual, so that input is what you're getting from the user. That's what that is. In this example, they're not getting so much from the user. The example is just saying, if you were to put in 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, then you tell scanner what to use as a delimiter, right? By default, it's a space. I know. In this one, they're using the word fish, or space fish, because that way it cuts out space fish, and everything between space fish is what the actual values are. So for mining, there's commas, so it's cutting out the comma,
His math professor's reviews.
and just giving whatever's in between those commas is what it's serving up as the different objects.
Every other math professor
So,
has the sheet.
for your thing,
Like 5. Yeah, make the quality is like a 1.
You can separate it by spaces.
And then, this is just a lot of homework, but it's expected. Taking math classes at Nova, it's not giving us.
It's a good thing I start with pre-calc.
you're separating it by spaces, but, so you're just trying to get geometry first car, and geometry hand,
That's what my sister paid.
dialogue.
$500 for the year
Semester. I think. It might be year. I'll ask.
Okay.
So if
that's
it's a
split
year
up
to 50, I believe that.
the basic.
Semester, that's absurd.
What is that throw? What is J dialogue?
Just parking lot in the neighborhood.
I just saw myself give it an older project, so I assumed that's what I had to do.
That's one way to do it.
How did you do it?
Geoptionpane.show, and there's several dialogues you can put here, there's a different type. So geoptionpane dot show input dialog is the one I use.
Classic
It's
society.
the button.
I see you did your delimiter.
Brady wasn't even paying
Yeah,
attention.
you already did it right.
The whole class
You
is
did it
out.
right. The delimiter is set.
no
when you-
Well, it said ask for something here.
The whole class is
So I
out.
set the scanner like this. Well, I have to set differently because that's not taking user input. The user sits right here. That's what I
You
set
need
it
to
to.
put that higher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It took me a while to
Right here.
catch up.
I normally just define scanners at the top. Whenever I'm just defining something, like a scanner, for example, new objects, I start at the top. Because that way it will already be there.
So when I have string input, would I have like a string input equals?
Well,
I'm gonna
so
change my CSC code.
right. The string literally just
Oh my
so
it's
J
just
option
I had
show
to
input dialog
to get my good map.
shows the dialog
It's
and then what it says is what it says, and I'm saying whatever they put into that box is a string.
I can't
It
do that one
becomes
because
input car
that's the only
input
good
for
map
car
professor. I
or
literally
input.
checked all of them, and it's the
Right.
only one we could.
So that becomes input, right? Now for scanner, right, we use scanner parentheses. You have to put something in. We usually put system in there because you're typing into a system in. You're typing literally into the command line. That's what it's looking at. When you whatever you put in here is what it is looking at. That's what the scanner will be scanning. So in this example, right, it's the input, right? Whatever they input, for mine it's input car 1, for yours right now it's just input. So that's what you want it to scan. You want it to scan input, whatever's in that string. But so I'm telling scanner 1 to scan whatever this is, scan that input, that variable, and to use this delimiter, comma. And then it'll do that. And so then I just say a car is, I define a new car object, car, my car equals car, and then of course, I don't know how you did it, but mine is, then is like the first thing, comma, second thing, third thing, fourth thing. That's how I put in the parameters.
Alright, so
To define it, right, stroke, color, int.
do you think you understand how to do the layout now?
String, next int, next double, next string.
No, right?
Scan them.
Okay. So let me show you. Let's see.
Sure.
Let's talk about the exercise. Want you to do. This is purely swing, right? Use JFrame, JPanel, JText fields, right? Now we have swing code right here, right? So the layout that we used last time, we used flow layout right here, correct? So that's why I show you what's flow layout right here. So but before flow layout, we can have like border layout too. Now let's understand the layout. Let me show you image like swing layout. So this is border layout. Like you can make your component in swing, they call component, right? In JavaFX nodes, right? But now we switch gear back to swing, okay? So just think about in terms of swing first. So this is all what? A component. This is a button, right? It's a component. So we have 5 buttons. We call north sometime, or page start, south or page end, left or line start, right or line end, and then center. Okay, so if you want to make object into that, then we could do that. So let's try it now. So switch back to our code. Remember we have, let's say how many components we have so far. Text field, label, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, button. We could technically make it 1, 2, 3, 4. Like the top could be text field. Okay. Or actually text field should be on the left and right because there are 2 text fields, and the button on the right, and then the label on the top. Right, to show the output. We don't have to use at bottom. Well, let's see how do we do that. So we switch the layout. Instead of flow layout, we just say border layout, and then you need to import, right? So this is border layout. Okay, so technically we don't need flow layout, we import border layout. Click. Now we add on the top. When we add, we just need to provide location, like we had to tell where. Okay, so if you see, we can use page start, refer to the top, right? So let's see, I want to do page start. I add and I put border layout dot page start. See that? So right here we said label is going to be add comma and then what? Border layout dot page start. Make sense? Now it's going to go in the top, and we said this is going to go to the left, so we gonna call border layout dot line start, right? That is left, right? And this is going to go to the centered, so we call border layout dot centered. And button is going to go to the right, so line in, right? So border layout dot line in. Okay, so that's it. That's it. That's just layout. Now let's see when we run the program. So we're gonna recompile this. Java C, and then Java. That makes sense? See that? That's the layout that we just changed to border. Right, label to the top now. Okay. So that's called border layout. Flow layout I just show you. Now let's talk about grid layout. Right, so in your assignment you're required to do flow layout, border layout, and grid layout using swing. Okay, so grid layout with 2 rows and 2 columns. So what's grid layout? So let's look at an image again, then we understand. So grid layout. Like to tell you, grid just like your phone pin pad, right? The numbers. You can put a location. Like this is 3 rows, 2 columns. Right. So how to use it? Pretty much just instead of border layout or flow layout, you just call grid layout. And then in the constructor, you just need to specify how many rows and how many columns. And when you add, it's going to add to the top left, like row 0, like column 0, right? And then the next one is going to be 0, 1, and so on. So let's look at some of the I mean, we can write now. So let's look at how we change this code to be grid layout. So now first let's design grid. So this is like a grid in like a table with a row and column, right? So let's see, we have how many components again? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's decide we can put text field 1 right here, right on the row 0, column 0, right? And text field 2 can go to row 0, column 1, right? And then we put, let's say we put button this time, this here, and the label, right? As a grid 2 by 2, right? How do we do that? So we're going to have to call layout, change it to instead of border layout, we call grid, right? Layout. Okay. Now layout, we have to specify. Let's check the constructor. You can always go to Java doc, right, to get to the actual constructor list, right, to see if it's rows and column first or column and rows, like 3 by 2, right? That right. So here, rows first and then columns. So this technically going to be what? 2 by 2, 2 rows, 2 columns, right? 2 comma 2, right? Now we just construct the grids 2 by 2. Now when we start to add, like, it's not border, so we cannot use this anymore, right? No more border. Like when start to add, it's gonna fill in the first top 0, 0 first, which you technically want to use this one and move your label out. So now it's gonna go here, left and right, button and label. So technically we're gonna move the label at the top, bottom, right? That makes sense. Then we don't need this, right? So let's see, it's gonna work. Oh, we have to import, right? We have to change from border to grid. Okay. Make sense? This is exactly like what we try to do, right? 2 text field, 1 button and label. So that's how you start to make the look and right to be exactly how you want it to lay out, right? The object. Now we talk about border layout. We talk about flow grid. So technically you're going to do that, right, for this assignment. Your application must have 4 text fields instead of 2. I just show you 2, right? And use array to create text fields. Okay. We talked about array last time, right? Like, technically, what I want you to do in this assignment, you just create 4 text fields. And then, like, if I wanted you to do grid layout, you just put text field 1, text field 2, and then text field 3, and then text field 4. That makes sense? That's it. Just be able to control how to add the object to the layout, which is very simple like that. When you use grid layout, when you use flow, pretty much just like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's gonna go. This is border, so let's talk about flow. It's gonna be like this. That makes sense. So, and border layout, I just show you. You can just put north, east, west, south, right? Start page, start line, center, inline. 4 of them, right? Like start page, right? Text field 1, and then start line, text field 2, center. Since you have 4, then you technically don't have to worry about the end page or south. Like that's it. Do it like that. Okay. Now, how to create JText fields? We already understand JText field using what? JText field imported, right? From where? The extra swing. Now, after you import JText field, like this one, I manually create 2, but I want you to do using array instead, right? Because it's a group of text field, right? So you technically could do an array of JText field, just like int bracket x, a group of JText field. You technically can just say JText fields, right? So it's gonna be, yeah, let me show you just 2 then. JText fields equals what? When you declare an array, you require to give the size of the array, which you have to say, like, if I want 2 text fields, right? If I want 4, just say 4, right? Like in the assignments, right? And then you technically don't need this anymore, correct? So now you have text fields. So technically you normally say text field 1 and 2. You're going to create a new text field by 0 right there, right? And then 0 is index, refer to the first one, the second one. Now I didn't use 3 and 4. If I do, I could too. So I put that 0, right, 1. Right. So if you want to add more, you want to create, you just need to put, so so 0, 1, and then what? 2, 3, right? 4 of them. Makes sense. If you want to add, technically you need more rows in this case, right? So I'm gonna add 2 more at the bottom or at the top.
Professor,
Hmm.
for the border layout, you know how there was like north, south, you know, on the sides and then in the center one? That equals like 5 components, but what if you have more components than that? What would happen?
You cannot
You
use
can only
border
have 5?
layout. Yeah.
Okay.
Because normally you use it for like this. Like this. This 1 panel, 2 panel. You actually control the big panel thing, like this whole, and then the inside you have another layout inside the layout. Like you put a panel like top panel, bottom panel, center panel.
Each one a different.
Right. And then on that panel you have another layout with the
And
components.
that's how you get like multiple.
Right, like this thing, like you do, like you see, like an application you have many panels. Like this could be the top panel, and this could be the bottom panel with the grid panel. Grid plane. Yeah, you use border for that, because like you combine, you cannot do grid for everything right here. You combine layout to the layout. That's a good question, right? Okay. All right, so now let's Oh, I no longer have. That's why it's a lot of text field 1 show up. Where are those? Yeah, right here. I no longer have those, right? Because I use an array instead. Or use array to create text field. So that's pretty much the requirements here. What else in the errors? So not supposed to have S right there, right? Ten more errors. Oh, I have S for that text fields. This is all the spelling. Then let me just not using S here then. Make it singular. Okay. All right. Yeah, it seems like I put 3 columns instead, right? And those are text field. Good. That's pretty much it for 6.3. So we pretty much has 2 more left, right? 7-1, 7-2, and you probably know that we have what, 1 more week left, huh?
Yeah, and then define.
So let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about that since we still have time. Okay, so this 6.3 deals next Monday, right? So 7.1, since we start to talk about array, right? Now I want you to start to use the GUI now instead of the console system.out, right? Or scanner, because I introduced you to GUI, right? You can pick JavaFX, you can pick Swing, right? So JavaFX has the layout too, right? But now I just show you the layout with that. I just show you simple flow layout in JavaFX, right? You can experience more. I'm going to show you using JavaFX to create an interface to sort an array of integers. Now you guys seem like if you go backward, so to what we have learned. We learn basic Java in chapter 1, hardware, right? But bit byte, how compiler works, things like that, right? How it can understand the program. Or the program being converted to .class. It's Java bytecode, and then you have JRE run this to convert to the binary code to support, right? Like binary language can run on any OS. Make sense? Now when we start to look at chapter 2, we start to look at how to write a program using how do you define data types. Pretty much is also affecting the size of the byte and bits, right? Like integer is 32 bits, right? Double is 64 bits. So every program that you write is going to occupy the memory that you spend a lot of money to buy RAM, more memory, more, right? So these are all the occupying the RAM, right? The memory. That's pretty much it is, right? the program pretty much just convert it to the graphic that you see, the presentation level, right? Application level. And then now you understand our data type, then you start to understand the basic simple logic, right? With the code if, else, and loops, right? Switch case, makes sense? Now you start to see, oh, how can I pretty much make the computer think? Computer itself cannot think, right? The program that make the logic that you put make it think, the program, right? Correct? Because you put the program into it to make it evaluate, provide input, its process, and then you display output, if, else, or loop, right? So you see the different if, else, just when you make decision. Loop is when you repeat something, right? To make it faster than just loop, right? And then you learn basic like display system.out, through console, input from scanner, right? Read from console, keyboard, right? You at this point pretty much know how to do that, correct? And then I start to show you more into use the graphic user interface, right? GUI, make it more interesting, right? Instead of like, how many of you really use the application that's showing you the console? None, right? It's gonna be an app that you can interact with, so that's why we learn GUI. So now we said, okay, now we learn more into arrays. When you want, we learn basic data type like int, right? Primitive type for those int, double, short, float, boolean, char for the characters, right? And then byte, right? Long. And then we said, okay, we can make an object. We learn object oriented, right? We can create a class, we can reuse the class. So this is the good concept. Like you can start to see that we have an object in your code. Object could be just the text field, right? Text field is pretty much another class that make the object. And you combine all the objects to get new object or new program called calculators, combined with all the text fields, label, buttons, right? Make sense? So you learn basic concept of class, how to use the method of the class and attributes. So use dot operators, right? Now yeah, these are just program the button. Since you learn GUI, you have to learn action events, event listener, right? You may see it's kind of not easy, just like console, right? But when you pick it up, then it make your program more interesting. So that part that you have to work on if you still feel like you're behind. Now with FX, it's make it easier with the lambda operators, right? You just set on action, like object had the method called set on action, and you just do e lambda with the curly braces, whatever action you want to perform right in there. Your logic come. Now I want to introduce you to array. I start to introduce you to array, a group of information. Like if I have a group of, this is an array, right? A group of double numbers, right? So I read input from text. I have two double values I put in a group, right? Two doubles and separate by comma, right? This is starting an array, right? But let's talk about basic array first. So basic array. Array, what's array? Array is pretty much a group of variables that has the same data type, right? So normally we look at in the term of table, like I want 10 integers. So when I create an array of integers, so it's going to locate a memory 10 slots right there. And to access to each of them, we have an index, right? Each value index is 0, 1, right? So since starting from the first one, we start from 0 to 9. There was a 10 of them, right? So this is an index, right? And the actual value is stored into, right, the box right there. Like this is an array of integers. In I want to call array of x in x, right? So if I want to access to the first one, this is called x index 0. That's how you access to the value, right? And the actual value could be a number that you store. Make sense? 100. So when you declare an array in Java, syntax is you must give the size, like I say int x with the bracket, this is an array, right? Equals to new int size 10, like that. That's just how you declare in Java. So it's going to allocate spaces 10, and the values is going to be all 0 because it's allocated. Pretty much just go into your RAM, physical RAM, and allocate like 32 bits of each slot, 10 slots. That's how it works, right? And with the 0 initialized values to the one that you never give the values, 0. But if you want to assign the values, you just go to x bracket 0 equals to 100, right, in your Java code. So it's going to pretty much just put 100 in there. Make sense? Like if I say x, how would I do refer to 1? Just index in the bracket, right? Equals to 90. So it's going to do 90 in there. That makes sense? And the same thing for the rest, right?
For the layout, for like a grid layout, could you just pass it? Could I do like panel dot add the array? If I added the array, would it just take it, like the first piece in the array becomes the first thing on the grid, and then the second?
You talk about,
or do you have to put it in
swing, right?
Yeah, for swing. Do you have to put it in individually?
So you talk about if you have more than one panels.
Yeah. So
you can create an array of panels.
Well, no. So like for panel dot add text field.
You can loop.
For example.
You can loop through that.
Okay, and then just add one. But so I cannot pass it just text field array.
Like the whole array list, like all the text fields at one.
So instead of saying like, instead of saying each place of the array, if I just pass it,
because
add text field.
No.
Okay.
You have to do one by one.
Okay, just curious.
You cannot just pass the whole array now. Okay. Alright, so now let's take a look at, this is pretty much the array, right? We understand array, right? Let's take a look at what we want you to do. So pretty much I have 10 numbers in my array, right? You decided GUI look like this, that's fine, with 10 slots, right? And randomly assign numbers like in order, an order list, like 120. Makes sense? I just randomly assign an order list. Okay, we can do just like that too. This is an order, right? You see, this is an order, right? And I want to make it in order. Like you have an interface for user to input 10 numbers unordered. And then you have to write a program to order it and display the output pre-ordered. That's it. This is an application. using GUI, using array, right? Right, take an array as a parameters and return an array. You have to use the method too. The method pretty much called sort, right? You create a method sort, which will sort an array that you pass in, like an array name X here, right? So you could make a method sort. When I pass sort, I pass X in, it returns back the sorted list. And then you update your GI. Okay, that's pretty much what we want you to do here. So technically the logic for sort is going to be a challenge. So that means you have to separate your concern now, right? You work on your logic, you work on your GUI later, or work on GUI and work on logic, right? All right, so go back to your program. So technically, I'm going to expand this. I'm going to add more text fields. I'm going to add another button called sort. So to create text field, you can have an array now, right? This is JavaFX, right? That I'm showing you. New text field. You have to give the size instead. 10. And what we're gonna do is, when the application start, we want to use loop, or I want to create an object of 10 text fields, right? So you can do for each for an array. For each mean each text field, I name it. You can just get some name like TF text field, colon for each of the text field from the array text field. Array text field name text field, right? For each of this is called for each. You see on the final test, so you understand what's for each, right? So for each of this text field, I call TF, is represent the index 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on right here. Okay. What do? I just create an object. Let's see if I can do this. New text field. Now the problem is I need to have an object of each text field created. Maybe this will do. Let's try that. Okay. So if it's created, then I should be able to refer to the first object, index 0, right? And the second one is index 1. This is the same program. I just do floor pane, do get children, get add all, right? Same program, right?
Wouldn't they be TF stuff?
TF is only valid inside the curly braces, local, right? Text field refer to this text field, right? I'm thinking about I should actually do loop to add to then I should create flow pane first, and then I can add htf onto my flow.getChildren.add and add the tf, add each text field. Then I don't have to keep repeating this over and over again here. And then I can add the label. If you want label go first, just add that first. But now, yeah, and the button go later, right? So just make sure you do flow.getChildren.add. If you want to add one item, so just do add like that, right? And then this is add more than one item, you add all. So we add all the controls, right? In FX we call controls, right? Like the text field and buttons. So this method just to find some index 0, right? Index 2, 1, okay. Which actually you may be able to find some of 10 numbers too. Right, so we daily have to read and parse one by one, which you can use a loop instead now, right? Int I equal to 0, I less than what? Text field dot length I plus plus. So you technically could do the sum, right? Using the loop, sum of 10 numbers, the logic that we have learned, correct? By say result plus equals to each of this, but we replace of I. Add each of this. It's going to loop and add 10 of them, right? Initialize it to. That makes sense. Make it so easy now, right? So we integrate the arrays and loops together, right? So we can add 10 of them into the result. Questions? We all together? This is how you use array, right? So I can sum the value of 10 numbers and get the value out, which technically could do the same with the average. Average pretty much just sum, right? So this is the same code right here. Sum. I have the mathematics, a class that passed all the numbers and find the average for you in returns. Meaning that I don't really need to sum here, because the mathematics find average only want you to pass an array of numbers in, and it will do the loop and sum for you and return the average. Okay, so now we learn the concept of classes and the methods, so I use it in here. You see that you can create your own overloaded, right, methods with, I can sum double group, I can sum integer groups, doesn't matter the value that user putting in, either double or integers. Overloaded will taking care. That makes sense? So find average passing in an array. So I need to read in instead of sum. So I need to declare an array X instead. Double array X and XI. Right, read each of this and store the values into X and parse into double. This has to give the size every time I declare double 10. Make sense? Now I read them and store into X each values from text field, right? 10 text field store into array and pass array into file average. Now file average will take the array and loop through its sum and divide by the length, return average. See that? That's the logic, right? But I make it as a method. That's why I talk to you about you must create a method to sort. Make sense? Okay, you have to follow these patterns, right? And you just call the method and it will link back to your graphic user interface, returns it. Make sense? The value and set the text. So find the products. Product should be just like this guy. Instead of plus, just change to asterisk, which is the multiplication. All right. Button factorial. Oh, this is just to find factorial of each numbers. We can use the loop too. So same, put into the array. And then we get a loop to get a result. And I have mathematics who has pretty much just find a factorial for you already right there. And concatenate out the result. Okay. So if you look at, I have the method how to find factorial, pretty much just multiply, right, the numbers and decrement it by 1, multiply I, like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we pretty much, I just fix everything here. So for sort, you just do the same, add the button. So we just need to add a button called what? Sort, right? You can sort 10 different number too in this. This is calculated program, right? Button sort. So now how would you sort? So you pretty much add an action to that button. So button sort dot set on action. Remember, just do E and that's it. Implement whatever you want, which you gonna call the method sort and return a result, which you gonna do string result. Result pretty much just sort a number for you as a result, right? And then you're gonna read in a group of array. You see, if you keep repeating over and over again, you could create a method for it too. Okay, like you gonna read in a group of array, right? This pretty much can be a method itself. But let's see, instead of calling factorial, right, it's gonna read into an array, 10 of them, and then you gonna call result equals to mathematics dot create a method named sort that returns and pass an array to sort, which is egg. Make sense? Now you just need to create a method by alt enter create methods. So mathematics has sort right here. Now the logic go here now. You're gonna return pretty much just the sorted list. So it's declare string sorted list, which is initial to empty first. How will you sort? That's the logic. You have a group of 10 numbers in an array, right? So you have to loop, right? Loop from the beginning to the end, right? In I equal to 0, I less than what? X dot length I plus plus, right? So you're going to have to compare the values from the first number to the second number. If it's greater than, if the first number is greater than the second, then you have to swap, right? So that's why we say you must create a swap methods to help you, right? So you're going to always assume that the first number is the smallest, and then if, right, the first number means what? I'm going to say, so this is double x. First is 0, right? So is the smallest, or smallest, whatever, small, or the first number is small. But you actually want to get what? The values, if small, happen to be actually greater than the next one, right? The next one, actually you start from 1, right? In this case, you no longer need to start from 0 because you assume 0. If small happen to be greater than x dot I, which is 1, right? Then you call what? Swap, because you need to switch what? Small location with the next location value, right? How do you swap? So let's create a swap method. You have to say you pass the index of small, because you technically want to do what? When you swap, you technically want to do like double temp to hold the values of the array that has a bigger index. So like large index of the larger number, right? And then you're gonna say x at the smaller equals to, how do you swap again? You get the value of the larger. You want to put smaller to larger, right? And then you can say x larger equals to what? X smaller. Because x smaller happen to be larger, right? And then x, there you go, right? That's how you swap, right? Equals temp. Now technically you need what? To pass in the index of the smaller, index of the larger, and the array itself, right? To swap, right? And then that's how you swap, right? Smaller temp. What happened to this one? Cast to int. Oh, because I said int, it has to be double, right? So technically this guy, you have to pass in what? The index. So you need to know the index of smaller, correct? How do you get the index of smaller? You need to say int small index equals to, in this case it's 0. Like I said, we assume first one, right? Small index, right? And larger index is what? I, correct? Because the small happen to be greater than the large. I mean, that's the index of smaller. meaning I first, right? Correct? Because I happen to be smaller, right? And small happen to be larger, right? That's why we try to switch, right? And this is going to be the small index, which happen to be larger, right? And then I pass x to swap. So whenever in that situation we swap, otherwise we don't have to swap, right? But this is first loop when you compare what? We will compare always the index 0 to the rest, right?
So with the small index, this is small index 0. That's just the number 0 though. It's not the index 0, right?
Yeah, now it is number 0, like the index of array 0, that we assume is small, right? Assume that is the smallest, okay? But this loop only compare the first index, you can see, right? 0 to the rest of 10 values, right? 9, right? To find the smallest, just pretty much just this loop find the smallest for you and put the smallest in the beginning. That makes sense? You still need to loop another one, another loop to move your smaller index to the next one and keep comparing. Technically, you can say J, you're gonna have to move this to the next one. Like starting is no longer at index 0. You want to be at index 1, right? And keep doing the same, index 2 and do the same. Are you with me so far? Okay, let's pause this first and we come back as time. Okay, let's think about go back home or during the, if you don't drive a car, you're riding a bus, think about how you do this sorting. Okay? Just think about when you shower, think about it.
That's it.
Yeah. And normally I get the idea from what I do like that.
Get out of the shower quick and write it down.
All right.